Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern over on Twitch and on YouTube, we are playing live NFL trivia for over $250 in cash prizes guaranteed. Link to play below. Come test your football knowledge and win our largest cash prize of the season. And now, on with our feature presentation. December 17, 2023. It's week 15 of the NFL season, and we've got an interconference battle on our hands up in Cleveland on a wet and windy day between the Chicago Bears and the Cleveland Browns. This is an absolutely critical game for the main team in our story, the Bears. Through 13 games, they find themselves at 5-8, which in a normal season would mean that your season is over. But the NFC is a dumpster fire in terms of the final two wildcard spots, as it is ultra competitive, but also ultra bad. And the Bears, after starting 2-7, have played some good football as of late, winning 3 of their last 4 and starting to get in some sort of rhythm. If you win this game and improve to 6-8, you're only a game out of the playoff hunt, right in the thick of things, with an extremely manageable schedule to close things off. Lose this one, though, and your season is over barring anything crazy. At this point in the game, it's the second quarter, and the Bears find themselves tied with the Browns 7-all with 3 seconds left at Cleveland's 37-yard line. Seems like an obvious decision here. Kick the field goal, go into the half with a potential 10-7 lead, and get some momentum, especially since you have a chance to double up coming out of the halftime break since you get the ball to start the third. I mean, are you really going to try a Hail Mary here instead of a 55-yard field goal that just about every other team would try and every other kicker could have a realistic chance at making? That would seem like a ridiculous thing to do, wouldn't it? Well, take a gander at what Matt Eberflus decides to do.
So they're going to turn down a long field goal try and go instead with a long Hail Mary to the end zone. The jump ball deflected around and the pass.
That's right. He has the Bears try a Hail Mary, which predictably fails and results in the team getting no points. And wouldn't you know it? The Bears ended up losing the game by 3 points. You know, the 3 points at the end of the first half could have been critically important. You could have had a field goal in the halftime lead, and you could have won the game, or at the very least, forced overtime if everything else stayed the same. But nope, you had to try a freaking Hail Mary from the 37-yard line instead of a 55-yard field goal, despite the fact that a lot of college teams would try the field goal. That's how obvious this was. And this decision was widely panned and criticized in real time when it happened. Heck, I was one of those that criticized it too. I thought this made no sense at the time whatsoever, and that this was the decision that could potentially seal the fate of Matt Eberflus as the head coach of the Chicago Bears. But then, I got to thinking, and you know what? This might surprise you, but I've actually got to defend Matt Eberflus here. No joke, I am not kidding. I actually am siding with Eberflus on this controversial decision, because in all honesty, I would have done the exact same thing. Not trying the 55-yard field goal, and instead trying a Hail Mary, while it might seem ridiculous on the surface, is a decision that you can definitely make a defense for. And I'm going to do that here. Welcome to In Defense Of. Let's dive right in. Now, before I go any further, you might be saying that I'm a massive hypocrite for making this video, and that my logic here makes no sense. Just 2 days ago, I chastised this man right here, Pittsburgh Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin, for not trying a 56-yard field goal. You can learn more about that by clicking the card in the upper right corner. I called it a dumb decision. I said that it showed how far Tomlin had fallen as a head coach, and I said that the logic made no sense. And now, I'm going to do the exact opposite with this man right here, Matt Eberflus, for not trying a 55-yard field goal? How does that make any sense? Well, after the game, Eberflus was asked about his bizarre decision on the surface to not try the kick. And when you listen to his explanation, the decision actually makes a ton of sense. It boiled down to a few things according to him. Number 1, they were kicking into the wind. Number 2, when asking Santos and figuring out what his range was considering the weather, they were about 8 yards out of his range. He could only hit from 48. And number 3, Fields could reach the end zone, so they thought it was worth a shot. That might seem like a really bad answer, You're telling me that a 55-yard field goal is too far? But in reality, it makes sense. Cairo Santos does not have the strongest leg in the world. This is not like Chris Boswell in the Steelers-Colts game, where he's kicking in a dome, where he hit a field goal of the same exact distance last week in way worse weather, and where he's hit long field goals in his career and is extremely accurate. This is not like Tomlin's answer when he said that he didn't want to risk giving the Colts great field position and that the vibes were off, none of which had anything to do with Boswell and his abilities. This was, simply put, a kicker who cannot hit from that far out. Santos is 32 years old and has been in the league since 2014, so this is no spring chicken that we're dealing with. In his entire career of 10 years, his longest field goal is 55 yards. That's it. His career long is 55, and even that was a nail-biter. That came a few weeks ago in that Monday Night Football game against the Minnesota Vikings, and that was in perfect conditions, indoors, so no wind, no rain, and no bad weather to deal with. And that kick, well, it was perfectly down the middle, and 3 points is 3 points, but that barely cleared. Usually from that range, kickers are hitting the net. This one fell right into the arms of an official. If this was from 58, it's short. And again, not only was that his career high in 10 years in the league, but that's in perfect conditions. This is the same man that 2 years ago, in a game against the Detroit Lions, had a 53-yard field goal in a dome, and he missed it short. This is the same man that, in a game against the Pittsburgh Steelers 2 years ago, had a 66-yard field goal in relatively nice weather, and not only missed it short, but didn't even miss it close, as the ball didn't even reach the halfway point of the end zone. This is the same man that, in a game against the Atlanta Falcons last year, had a 56-yard field goal indoors, so perfect conditions, and he missed it short. Santos is accurate, but in terms of leg strength, he's definitely one of the weaker kickers in football, and he's shown why over the years. So for Santos to make this field goal, and for this man right here, Matt Eberflus, to trot him out, he's got to hit a career-long field goal, but going into the wind, of which there was a lot, seeing as it was 15 miles per hour, and he's got to hit a wet football on a cold day. You can see why this is a bit different than the Boswell situation, right? Santos, quite literally, cannot hit the field goal. If you can't hit the kick, you can't hit the kick. It's that simple. If you can't reach, you can't reach. It's like telling a golfer to hit a 350-yard drive. If you can't hit from 350, you can't hit from 350. It's like telling a 6-year-old to dunk the ball on a regulation hoop and drawing up a play for him to do that. You might draw up the perfect play, and in college, a dunk is definitely a higher percentage play than a contested shot. But no matter how hard he tries, and no matter how hard he jumps, he won't be able to dunk. If Boswell tried that field goal in the Steelers-Colts game, he's not missing short. He might miss the kick, but he's not missing short. If Santos tried this field goal, not only is he missing the kick, no doubt about it, but he's missing it short. And what does a short missed kick do? It gives the other team a chance to run it back. And we've seen it way too many times where a kicker misses short. The other team fields the ball, and they take it back the other way for a touchdown. The reason why this happens is simple. The field goal coverage team has a crap ton of offensive linemen who are super slow, and they're chasing a player who is super fast. All the return man needs is one hole, and he's gone, because no one is catching him. The fastest player that has a shot might legitimately be the quarterback or punter holding the football. And yeah, good luck with that. So if you try the field goal here, not only is Santos not making it, but you risk giving up 7 points. The reward of making the kick is great, obviously. You score 3 points, and you go into the halftime break with the lead. But you're not risking something trivial like field position or anything like that. You're risking a touchdown on a play that, knowing Santos and his history, has a 0% chance at working. The Bears knew this too. On 2nd and 3rd down, they tried passes that were 10 or so yards to get into Santos' range, but it just didn't work out. Now compare that to the Hail Mary. Is it going to work? Probably not. Hail Marys rarely work. This season, the only one that has worked came in the Broncos-Commanders game back in September. But there's 3 things that a Hail Mary has going for you over a field goal. Number 1, you have a higher probability of scoring. At least Justin Fields can reach the end zone, and you know that. Santos can't reach on a field goal from 55 yards out, but Fields just has to throw this football 37 yards, which he can absolutely do. Just about every quarterback in this league can, and Fields is one of them. By default, even if the odds aren't great, he at least can reach, which is more than I can say about Santos. The odds are better than 0. Number 2, you have a greater reward, seeing as scoring a touchdown is better than scoring a field goal. And number 3, you have a much lesser risk, seeing as the interception won't be returned for a touchdown. Yes, we saw the Black Friday game with the Dolphins and Jets, where that pick by Tim Boyle got returned for 6 the other way. But that was because the Hail Mary didn't reach the end zone, so you always have a risk there. On a short Hail Mary, that is always a possibility. But on a play like this from the 37, where you can reach the end zone with ease, no risk at all. Breaking it down, this play has a lesser risk, a greater reward, and a greater chance at working. In that case, it'd actually be stupid to try the field goal. If you know your kicker can't reach, then trying a field goal is a lost cause, and you might as well try, quite literally, anything else. And a Hail Mary seems like a fine alternative there. So you get why the decision in the game between these 2 teams behind me right here was very different than the one in the Steelers-Colts game that I criticized 48 hours ago, right? You can see why it's apples and oranges. In that one, you had a kicker who could reach. You had a team that was down by 2 scores and needed the points. And the decision to not kick had nothing to do whatsoever with Boswell and his abilities. Seeing as Boswell hit from that distance before, many times actually, the kick was indoors, and Mike Tomlin's decision was based off of vibes and how the game was going, whatever that means. In this game, though, Santos literally can't reach. The kick was not going to go in. He cannot hit a 55-yard field goal in that weather and with that wind. And the risk-reward weighs heavily in favor of trying anything else, because disaster could happen if Santos misses short, which, spoiler alert, if he tried the kick, he probably would have. 2 very different situations here, and that's why I think Eberflus made the right call at the end of the day. Look, it didn't work out at the end of the day. The Hail Mary didn't work, it got picked off. The Bears came away empty-handed, and they ended up losing the game by 3 points. Maybe this loss keeps them out of the playoffs. Maybe this decision keeps them out of the playoffs. Maybe this changes the entire future of the franchise, and Matt Eberflus gets fired, unable to get off of the hot seat. But even though it didn't work out, and even though I think everyone was baffled and everyone criticized it at the time, I would definitely do it all over again. Because when you look at the weather, you look at Cairo Santos and how weak his leg is, you look at the fact that the field goal had a 0% chance at working, even if struck perfectly. You look at Cairo Santos and his history. You look at the fact that Fields can at least reach the end zone, and you look at the fact that calling an actual play versus a field goal won't result in disaster the other way. This is one decision that you can definitely make a defense for. Get your official Jaguar Gear 9 merchandise by going to jj9shop.com, and be sure to like and subscribe, as it really helps the channel out a lot. Join me every Wednesday night where we'll play NFL Trivia for cash prizes at 9 p.m. Eastern over on Twitch. To learn more about the history of college football, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 8. To learn more about the history of Major League Baseball, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 7. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters for helping out the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. See how you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.